Hi, this is Jodi with Real Progress in Action. I am very excited today to bring back Geoff Ginter.
It's wonderful to have, empathy. It's a wonder, and it's horrific that we have so many people that have suffered so much, that have suffered a lot of loss. And I have tremendous empathy for you and for anyone else that has had to go through that. I've gone through it myself.
Right.
Joe Biden has had loss, but that is not a qualification. MacArthur, whom I was, had my confrontation with, he would talk about his loss all the time, and I don't begrudge anyone having their moment in the sun to express what they went through. I think we are a planetary community, and I think we should, show empathy to everyone that has to go through these things. But this person was chosen, or selected to have his hands directly on the levers of power for how we're going to treat the sick, how we're going to allow people to come and to get health care. And he would talk about what it was like for him, to feel his daughter's last breath, in a healthcare setting, talk about all these different things. And my heart goes out to him for that. And he says that this is one of the reasons why he finds himself to be so uniquely positioned to be dealing with healthcare. Now that I take exception with.
Right.
I have great empathy for you for what you went through, but if you're using that as your qualifications for why you're going to be so instrumental in dealing with healthcare legislation, I'm sorry, but your solutions were fucking shitty. You did not learn the lessons that your family members passing on were trying to teach you about what healthcare is really all about. Your mother passing and your daughter passing, and you're so proud of your father from the time she passed until you were in college. How many years was that before he paid it all off? This is not a good story. This is not an uplifting story. That is a story of someone who had to lose his wife, presumably the love of his life, and deprive his children of a mother. And then on top of all that, while he is grieving, has to work for God knows how many years to pay off, the costs that he incurred for the tragedy of having lost all that. That is not a good story.
Right.
And his solution to what his family and himself went through was more insurance, was more for-profit solutions to catastrophic problems. He is not qualified, to be dealing with healthcare solutions and using his family to prop himself up for qualifications for why he should be the one to do it. Because he took his tragedy, and instead of making sure that no one else would ever suffer as he suffered, as his father suffered, he went out of his way to make sure that everyone would suffer as he had suffered, as his father had suffered. Now Joe Biden is going to do exactly the same thing, using his tragedy, his personal, brush with death, to be able to impose the same kind of shitty situation upon us all. When we hear stories of how, Barack Obama, took Joe Biden into his arms when his son passed, and Joe Biden was going to have to sell his house to be able to pay the bills. And Obama said, "Don't worry about it, Joe. I got this. I'll take care of it for you."
What is this story?
And this is presented as, oh my God, Obama is so wonderful. How magnanimous. Where someone in one of the most powerful positions was going to be in the same situation as so many others, to have to lose his home as a consolation prize for having lost his son. A friend of his had to step up to the plate to pay the bill for him. That was his health insurance, having a rich friend.
Right.
That's the GoFundMe version of healthcare.
Yeah.
Neither one of them came to the conclusion that no one should ever have to suffer like that again. No one of them came to the conclusion Exactly, because it's not profitable.
I don't understand.
I understand all too well. It's not about money, it's about power and influence. And if you can make people economically desperate, if you can pit them against one another, you can manipulate them any way you want. They will take whatever shitty job you put their way. They will not stand up and demand for better. They will not rise up against the people who are actually oppressing them, when what they really can be doing is saying, we just need a woman in power. Any woman? Any woman who's going to fix. Wouldn't it be great if we could bomb countries with more estrogen instead of testosterone?
Oh, it's great now that we're like destroying countries and communities with drones now. So we don't have to lose any of our people. We just have drones there, just going to show up and above people's houses.
Absolutely saving American lives. Fuck them.
We've gotten to. I don't understand how we've got this. And coming back to kind of like the beginning of like this desensitization, and it's very interesting to me because this concept was introduced to me by my parents, who are very religious, and they were like, "You're going to get desensitized to like bad stuff, like MTV and stuff back in the day, and blah blah blah. And sex and drugs.
Comics are gonna rot your brain.
Like whatever, that kind of stuff. But to me, I'm looking at it and I'm like, you are desensitized to killing people in other countries for no reason. You are desensitized to children being separated from their parents and kept for 3 years and not being able to find their parents. Can you imagine? I have children. Do you have children, Geoff?
Yes, I do.
Yes, I have children. And if there were anyone to ever take my children away, that is my worst fear, my worst nightmare. And yet people will have this conversation with a straight face. People who are otherwise, I would think, good people will defend. See, I think that's kind of the difference between you and I. And I think that's because I still hold on to this kind of kernel of hope, that like people are really good and they're just misled. They're just misled and they're just manipulated.
It's not that I don't agree with you. It's just that I think they've been misled for too long.
To a point where there's no coming back. To a point
where not in the short term. Right now, we are faced with so many catastrophes. As Ron Placone said, there was no pragmatic solution to a catastrophic problem. You have to rise up to the power of the moment with something that can counter that power. And if pragmatic incrementalism was ever going to save us, if it ever made things better, do you think Donald Trump would ever have been elected? A happy, contented population does not elect someone like Donald Trump. It doesn't happen. Ergo, the problems didn't start with Donald Trump. By definition, they can't possibly have done so. So I'm afraid that
defined as like the problems are not the actual problems. So like people are fighting, and that's in the Democrat. That's across the board. You know what I mean? That there are these kind of like, this is what's on the news, and this is what people in power are talking about. But then this is what's happening in real life, and that is the cause of people's discontent.
Yeah.
Issues that are not talked about are the actual problems that are causing issues with people in their own communities, in their own lives.
And it's interesting because when you were talking about patients, when you were talking about patients who have to talk forcefully, because I'm in pain, of course you think I'm crazy. No one is listening to me. So by the time my rhetoric gets to a certain level, to the point where finally you hear me, all you hear is the fact that I'm yelling at you. That's where we are nationally.
It's a very good analogy, actually.
People have been suffering for so long, and we've been talking about it and talking about it. We've been civil. Yeah. We've been told over and over and over again, now is not the time. And we said, okay. You said we'd get to it after the next election 20 years ago. And we said, okay. And we did everything that you said. We didn't like it. We told you we didn't like it, but we were civil. And now, when we can't fucking take it anymore, when the IPCC report says we have 10 years left, 10 years now. 2 years ago, it was issued when we had 12 years to deal with it. And we wasted 2 years just talking and hoping that something somewhere would come around. And the only thing we got for all our efforts was Joe fucking Biden and his I'm not giving up fracking, and I'm going to surround myself with fossil fuel people, and together we'll deal with climate change. I'm going to be the one pushing the sunrise movement. And you wonder why we're yelling at you. We have been doing what you told us to do, and now we're not doing it anymore. And you seem to think the problem is us.
Yeah.
We're suddenly not being civil anymore.
I'm gonna tell you, I think this is interesting. We're talking about like the different generations, right? This is like X and Y and blah, blah. I can't keep track, okay? Someone told me at one point that I was part of the Oregon Trail generation, and I was like, yes, I remember the Oregon Trail. It was like second grade. Boom, 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 boom. Anyway.
The generation blah, blah, blah pretty soon.
I know. I have no idea what generation I'm a part of. I'm 40. Somebody tell me. Anyway, so the point is that it's very interesting. The way that people market is, or at least the way that I've heard people describe it and differentiate the different generations, right? Is okay, this was the generation that grew up before computers. Mm-hmm. This was the generation that grew up when computers were just coming out. Hi, that's me. And starting to really, whatever. And then this is the generation that grew up where computers were there the whole time, and they are just, very used to it, and that's all it is. Technological age, right? So kind of like looking at these kind of things, right? Now me, I differentiate these generations in different ways, and I differentiate them and based on like the economy and the way that the economy has affected people, right? And so I think this is very much applicable to the conversation that we're having. So in the beginning, back here, way back here, we had you had the American dream. So this is like it's not technology, it's American dream. So back here we had the American dream where there was like a man who could go to work, he would take care of his family. Now, I'm not for like the patriarchy, right? That's not like what I'm trying to
get it.
But
it's just the fact that one person was all that was needed.
Exactly. One person.
It could have been the woman working and the man staying home.
Exactly. So there was one person who's going to work. They were taking care of a family. Could be 5 kids. Didn't matter. They were taking care of a family. They could afford a home and a car and just the basics that you need to get by, right? And still be able to celebrate with their family, celebrate birthdays. Not like have to work overtime all the time to like pay for everything. Blah blah. Still be able to take like a vacation, maybe 2 a year, a modest vacation or something like that. Whatever. With their entire family, 5 kids, whatever it is. Absolutely. So that's them. And then we have this generation that comes in and they all of a sudden, women go to work and then credit cards get big. These are the things that I associate in my mind because credit, everybody talks about credit as if it's your money. No, it's not. It's not your money. You don't have it. If you have something on credit, you don't have it. I own a home right now, but no, sorry, Wells Fargo owns it. And that's because 3 banks sold it within each other to settle me on Wells Fargo. I don't own this home for another 25 years, right? But that's that. And here we are. And then student, the college starts costing more and the interest is more, blah, 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 and all these kind of things, start getting more, blah, blah, blah. And people are not actually able to do that. And now, and they're questioning, in this generation, they're questioning, oh, wait a second. We were working, we could, you know what I mean? My dad could afford this house, you know what I mean? Could afford to provide for their family on one income. And now my husband's working and I feel like, well, I need to work a part-time job and not so much with the kids and blah, 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 and things are getting to that. And now this generation, I feel like we want to talk about the American dream. We have completely lost all pretense of being able to live a safe, secure, and not indebted life. I think now at this point, we understand this generation, and that might be starting from the very end of my generation, of my age or whatever, you know what I mean, getting to the next one. But as far as this kind of idea, this goal of like the American dream and being able to, if you work hard, you'll be able to provide for your family, that all pretense is gone. Absolutely. It's not, nobody even believes it exists anymore. Nobody even believes that they can live without debt. No one believes that one person can provide for a whole family. We've seen studies that 2 people working cannot provide for apartments. What was that one? It was like No, I think it was one income could not provide for like a 1-bedroom apartment in any city in the United States on minimum wage.
I don't doubt it.
Where are we?
There's a study that says that, I mean, if you just look at the numbers, by the median age of 35, baby boomers, let's talk about the early 80s, when they reached the age of 35 on average, they own 21% of the national wealth. Generation X, represent. When we turned 35, around about 2000, 2005, we owned 11%. And millennials are going to be 35 in a couple of years, and they are on target to own about 3%.
There we go.
What's really happening, if anyone wants to know what's really been going on, Patrick Lovell and Eric Vaughan did a docu-series called The Con. I cannot highly recommend this enough. It's a 5-part series. Look it up, The Con. It will take you through step by step what happened during the 2008 crash, and they will liken it back to the original crash, the Great Depression, in the 1920s, and how they got out of that. They had the PCORA hearings. They actually had someone who was able to go to Congress and prosecute these people that caused the Great Depression, and then implement, successfully prosecute, and then implement various organizations and agencies, government agencies, to make sure that this shit didn't happen again. And then after World War II, we proceeded to have the greatest economic boom with all these regulations in place, and with enough people who still had institutional and life experience memory to remember what happened in the 1920s. But 50 years later, come the early 1970s, people start to forget.
Desensitization.
Desensitization and a certain amount of just go to sleep. Isn't everything wonderful so far? Yep. Go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep. Don't ask, don't question, don't do anything. We got this. You trusted us for 50 years, trust us again. And then bad things started to happen. Deregulation started to happen. Break up the unions. End Glass-Steagall. Thank you, Bill Clinton. Separating investment banks from commercial banks. And before you know it, we're off to the races. And you let the wrong people in charge, and you yourself went to sleep.
It's disaster capitalism. Yes. I mean, that's what it is. I don't know if you guys have read that book. Is that the name of it? It's Naomi Klein, Disaster Capitalism. I hate it because I've only gotten halfway through. Sorry, guys. But it's such a good book. And the thing is that these are, it's wild. Everyone is like in shock. Well, shock doctrine, that's the name of it. It's wild. Everyone is there's this catastrophe, and everyone is just like, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Everyone is in survival mode in that time. What's really interesting is to look at, I think it correlates highly with the study that you were just talking about what kind of ownership people have, right? Or whatever kind of investment. And this is like the housing market, right? So when people, what happens is that these houses, when it's in that type of situation, it's just specifically about the housing market. When it's in that situation where everybody's in this shocked situation, everybody's desperate and they don't know what to do, they'll sell their house. Well, corporations and banks and all that kind of stuff will just accumulate these things. Yeah. And then it becomes, talk about home ownership. Like we always want to encourage home ownership and blah, blah, blah.
You're building equity.
We bail out the banks who do not bail out the people. No. So if you want to encourage home ownership, that's the opposite of what we're doing. And honestly, I think it all comes back to money and politics. Because those are the people who have the ear of the people who are making these decisions, putting this legislation in.
As I've always said, politicians only ever do as they're told. They only ever do as they're told. The problem right now is that the only ones successfully bringing pressure to get them to do what they're going to do is the oligarchs, is big corporations. We don't have it within us yet.
No, I honestly think that there are a lot of people out there speaking. It just takes a lot of people. It takes a lot more.
Yeah, and now
When
with Joe
you're
Biden,
balance against the oligarchs, you're going to have a shit ton of people. Excuse my language.
But with Joe Biden in office, I
out.
think we just lost a lot of people who would be willing. You know, I mean, we got Barack Obama. I could tell you as soon as he was putting his cabinet together that we got had.
Oh,
We
boy.
got had. You know,
Yeah.
but no one wanted to hear that. Everyone was just so happy that George W. Bush was gone, that we had a black man in office. That's wonderful. Racism is over now. He's very well educated and well spoken, can complete a sentence, as opposed to the previous idiot. You know, when they said we weren't going to prosecute, a few people were upset, but for the most part, people just want security. They just want to be able to turn on the TV at the end of a long day and tune in, and shut down. And for as long as they can still do that.
About Obama, though, like I was really at that time, I was like, yeah,
when he was running, I was excited.
Inauguration, I was like, well, and then of course, you know, give it a little while, and you're like, oh yeah, that was all shit. He wasn't really, you know,
as soon as Tim Geithner got in there, the honeymoon with me was over. But I'm still solidly in the camp of who am I to speak? You know, why should I? Who's going to listen to me? You know, and now I don't care who listens. You know, I don't care. I'm not going to shut up anymore. I'm not going to do as I'm told anymore.
I love it.
So.
Well, you know what? I appreciate that because I love what you have to say, Geoff. I mean, every time I talk to you, I learn a little something. So keep speaking up. I appreciate that. I
have to. I want to sleep at night, and I want to be able to pass something on to my children that's more than a bomb shelter.
Yeah.
You know, and so I don't believe for a second that I am uniquely responsible for everything that's been going on. I'm just part of it. And I didn't think I was. I thought I was just doing my thing, you know, that it was my responsibility to just exist. Politically speaking, I vote. That was my job. I voted. And I've come to realize, especially as I study the suffragettes, as I study the labor movements, Emma Goldman, you know, Joe Hill, you know, when I study all these different things, Malcolm X, it is so vitally important that we stop waiting for someone to save us, that we stop waiting for better politicians to be elected so that we can actually get. I'm tired of hearing people say we have to wait for these special elections in Georgia so that we can get the majority in the Senate, because only then will we be able to get what we need. Well, fuck you. We've had control of everything. By we mean Democrats. We've had control of everything during Bill Clinton. We had control of everything during Barack Obama, and we still got the same corporate agenda.
Yep.
You know? Right. So stop telling me that we have to wait for certain conditions to be met before we can make our demands met, you know, let alone listen to. You do it now. You don't wait. I'm 51. I don't have a lot more time to wait. My kids deserve better than to have a father who is simply waiting for a better season to be able to save their lives. You know, if they're actually drowning in a river, you know, reaching out to me to help them out, I'm gonna say, I'm sorry, I can't do anything. I gotta wait for, you know, whatever it is I'm waiting for. Fuck that. You know, you save everyone. You do not pat yourself on the back for only being able to save a couple. You save everyone. And the understanding the monetary system is the key to knowing that we can save everyone. Absolutely. Everyone that can be saved.
I think, and that's a point that we need to make now. I think that's a point that we really need to make in this. And I know that on Real Progressives, we make this point on a regular basis, right? Mm-hmm. But I think it needs to be said over and over and over again, is that there are people who are suffering. We know why they are suffering. We know why people are out of work. We know why children are having issues getting meals in the day. We know why people are having issues paying their rent. We know why people have issues with medical. We know why. We know exactly why. And there is absolutely nothing in our way. It is not, oh, I have this much money in my bank account. This is how much I can rush down. No, that is not the way it is with the federal government. And people act like that all the time. And in the meantime, while we are having this bullshit conversation, while we are having this ridiculous conversation. I mean, excuse my language, but I am fucking pissed.
Yes.
I'm just going to be honest, because it is maddening to listen to people have to argue about how things function, even though we know how they do.
Mm-hmm.
And in the meantime, people are suffering, hurting, and dying.
And they have been for a long time.
And we're having political theater of this like ridiculous conversation.
Oh, Nancy Pelosi. Oh, yes, Queen. Oh, she clapped it. Oh, she ripped up his speech. Oh, it's almost like she actually gave Medicare for all. Oh, you know, I can't be tolerant, you know, of this shit anymore. You know, you want us to be civil? Civility comes at a cost. And right now, I put the cost of civility at Medicare for all, federal job guarantee, you know, Green New Deal, reparations for African Americans and First Nations, and all the wars that are for oil, and oligarchy. That is the price, the beginning of the price. I got a laundry list of things we got to take care of after that. But if you want civility, if you want me to talk to you like you're a human, you know, that is the cost.
Act civilly. Maybe, is it civil to allow people to suffer and die while you're doing it? Is that, I'm sorry, is that civility?
Well, it's Roman civility. You know, if you want to go back to ancient Rome, that would be wonderful for Roman civility. But I thought we were, I don't know, 2,000 years later, maybe a little bit better. Apparently not.
You would hope.
Apparently not.
Well, Geoff, I know you have to go, and I know you have to go, and I hate it because I love talking to you. I love talking to you.
I love you too, man.
Hours. And we'll definitely do it again. But I have totally, I'm pretty sure I've held you up for like twice the amount of time that you told me you were available.
Not quite. You know, but yeah.
I mean, I don't feel bad about it. I talk to you all day. I mean, but you know, I feel bad. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, I think what we really need to be pushing for are policies that are going to help the people, and especially in the time with COVID. And I know that that's kind of like a generic statement. Hopefully you can look back on this conversation and kind of understand what these ideas are. You can look back on the conversation that I had with organizational leaders who were fighting for a people's bailout. Those are things that are amazing things that we really need. These are just the core. I mean, this is really, when we talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and I know, oh, it's a little played out now, but no, these are the basics that human beings need to survive and to feel secure, right?
It'll be played out when we actually have it.
I know, right? Can it be like old hat? I would love for it to be just like, oh yeah, well, of course we have that. Like it is when they go to London and say, how much do you think it would cost for an ambulance ride or to have a bit? I mean, to them, it's absolutely insane that we
because
have
it
this
is $1,000 to $8,000 for an ambulance ride.
Listen, my children, I'm just real quick. I know I'm not trying to like get off on some other subject, but my kids and I, because they went and they did like remote learning and then but partially in school. Yeah. And I work at a homeless shelter, which means that I need to be careful as well. And we did, each of us in my family, all three of us have had to take 2 tests. And I'm talking to my boss the other day. And I'm like, yeah, no, my son is just staying home for 10 days. Like at the beginning of it, now he's staying home because we're having a rise in cases in New Hampshire. But at the beginning, I said, no, my son's just going to stay home because you want to know what? We've each had to take 2 tests. That's 6 tests. I know exactly how much that costs because I had to pay for one up front.
Oh, you had to pay for it?
Came back. Because I traveled, I came back and I was supposed to work the next day. So I had to do a rapid one. I slept in my car in the parking lot of the rapid testing place the night before because I didn't want to go into my parents' house and with my kids and they're older and they're vulnerable. And so I didn't want to do all that. So I slept in my car and did it the next morning.
Jesus
and,
God.
Because I had to work, whatever. The fact is it cost me $160 to take the rapid test. That was the one that I had to pay for up front, right? And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, well, my kids have had to take 2 each. I've had to take 1, so that's 5 tests. Now, I took 1 that I paid for up front that cost me $160. Now, they say, the government says, oh, yeah, it's going to be free to take the tests. And I'm like, I'll believe it when I see it. Because I'm expecting the bill. Because no matter what you say, no matter what should be covered, I'm still expecting the bill because I always get the bill. And if any of it is going to be covered, I'm going to have to fight for it with about 50 people on the phone and asking for supervisor after supervisor after supervisor.
Yeah. I mean, what I always say, you know, when we talk about modern monetary theory and what is possible, people always say, you're comfortable with giving the government that much power, to which I say, fuck no, I'm not comfortable with that. You know, the way things are structured right now, there is two realities that we have to contend with. One, we have a monetary system that puts all financial power in the hands of the monetary sovereign. That's the federal government and its agencies, the banking system. Remember, it's agencies. The federal government has complete control. Whether it exercises that control or not is irrelevant. It has that control. The second thing we have to recognize is that we have allowed the government, pretty much since its inception, to be ruled by oligarchs. So you're never going to get what you want with business as usual. But you still only have one option. If money is an obstacle, it has to be paid for by the federal government, the monetary sovereign. It has to be, because no other entity is going to be able to do it, either because they don't want to, in the case of insurance companies that run a for-profit, or in the case of entities that are not for profit but are financially constrained. When finance is the way that you get what you need, and this is important for society, the federal government has to be the one that does it. And you're not going to be able to rest easy knowing that they're the ones in charge of it until you become the government of, for, and by the people. So take a little bit of time out of your day, put down the fucking remote, and do something concrete that lets the people in power know that they are not in charge, we are. Only then will you be able to sleep well at night, not before.
Yeah. Now, my response to that is, who do you want to be in charge? Because right now, it's corporations, it's companies who we have no control over, who do they're private. Do you want those people to be in charge of everything, or do you want
apparently they do
that we actually have some chance of regulating and making sure that things are implemented in a good way and whatever? So, like, who do you want to be in charge? Because every time somebody says, "Oh, do you want the big bad government to be in charge?" I think, do you want the big bad corporation heads to be in charge? Because big pharma and these, insurance companies, they're not good people, and we have no control over what they do. So if we're going to talk about like a binary choice, who's going to be in charge? Is it who's going to be like the arbiter of our health? Would you rather it be an institution that we have some semblance of control over and designing the process and accountability, or do you want it to be a private corporation? That,
I mean,
I don't understand what, like,
we do have individual choice.
If you want to have a boogeyman,
we do have individual choice. We can say, don't shop at McDonald's. They don't pay their people well. They don't do this. Don't shop at Amazon. They're a horrible corporation that do this. Don't do this. Individuals can make individual changes. And if enough people did that, then maybe you could affect some change. However, we're not dealing with a few bad apples, and you cannot tell people who live in areas where the only real restaurant is a McDonald's, and the only grocery store is a 7-Eleven, to not shop at these places. They don't have options. You can't tell people who are addicted to certain things to not do certain things. You can't tell people to stop shopping at Amazon when Amazon and Walmart have decimated, mom and pop stores. We have systemic problems that can only be treated systemically. So yes, we can all make individual choices. You can't tell me that we're going to beat climate change by stop driving our cars when I need my car to go to work. We have an opportunity to make, yes, some personal choices, but one of the personal choices you have is making sure that you are part of the fucking government solution.
Thank you.
That's, everything is baked into that. You celebrate a constitution and then shit on it by saying that the constitution that created your government is also a shitty institution that we want to be able to dismantle. You dismantle the government, then what do you have? A piece of paper. That means nothing. Back to the wild, wild west. How wonderful was that?
You know what? I think what it comes down to is we have a lot of work to do.
Yes, we do.
This is where we go from here. I mean, this is, I think, you know, I'm not happy with Joe Biden being the president. I know you're not happy. I am happier, I guess, than Trump being the president, you know? But
my worst nightmare is Joe Biden.
The thing is we have a lot of work to do. And I've seen a lot of people who are trying to, you know, to do what they can. Just trying to keep positive, I guess, and just keep pushing it.
Point them my way, because I'm not seeing enough of that.
You're what?
Point them my way, because I'm not seeing enough of that. I'd like to see more.
You know what the thing is? I think in times like this, you know, it's all about, okay, what is the long term? How are we long term going to make improvements, right? And I think with Joe Biden, there are a lot of people who are trying to like push him to the left. I'm not necessarily so positive about being able to push him to the left. I just don't. And go for it. If that's where you fit into this, I think it takes all kinds of different people using all kinds of different tools and methods and pushing from every angle to be able to really build up a movement. Now, what I feel is that we have a strong movement, and it's up to us to, in this 4 years, well, we don't necessarily like the guy who's there or whatever, and you know, we might be a little relieved it's better than the psychotic, you know, narcissist or whatever, but at the same time, what are we going to do in this time, right? And I think number one, push for 2018. There are a lot of people who are running. We want to push for progressives and really, you know, get them out there. And number two, it's about advocacy and awareness and spreading the message so that we're appealing to more people, so that more people can understand how this helps you in your everyday life. How the things that are happening now, I think this is very reflective of the conversation that we've just had. How the things that that the government is doing is benefiting other people and screwing us, and understanding that these policies that we're pushing for are not like evil socialist Venezuela or some shit. They are actual policies that will lift the bottom. I always come back to this you know thing, and I hate to say it because it makes me sad every time, because I know that Obama said it, and when he said it, I believed in it. And now I just think it's bullshit. But the saying itself is good. A rising tide lifts all boats.
Yes.
You know what? A rising tide doesn't lift all boats if there are people who still don't have a boat.
Yeah.
If there are people who are still drowning. You know what I mean? So we frame this in such a way that we're going to better life for people. I think what we really need to do is we need to show people the real way.
Yeah.
Right? So not this bullshit neolib, this is how we're gonna, you know, make you happy or blah, blah, blah.
But this is why I talk about policies. This is why I talk about policies. If we're going to get anywhere, I think we need to stop worshiping at the altar of politicians.
That's right.
Stop worshiping at the altar of political parties. You know, because quite honestly, if we had an entire population that cared about policy, pushing policy, then that would be a return to the suffragettes. That would be a return to the labor movements, because you don't care who's in office. You're going to push the same policies. No matter who's in office, they're going to hear the same Greek chorus. Medicare for all, Green New Deal, federal jobs guarantee, reparations, you know, whatever it is. Don't care who you are. Don't care what you said on the campaign trail. Don't care what you think you want to do. And I sure as shit don't care who's around you. This is what you're going to do. Because if you don't, we're shutting the whole thing down, the whole fucking thing down. You know, without that, at this point, with as little time as we have left based upon the IPCC report, I don't see any other way around it. You have to stop caring about who is in power, at the very least care about that less than making sure that you push policies instead of allowing the agenda to be hijacked by whoever happens to be in power. Well, we can't get this done, he won't sign it. Oh, we can't get this done, we don't have the votes. I don't need the fucking votes. I need the people to be able to force their elected officials to do the vote. I don't care what they want. Stop caring what they want. Start building a movement based upon policies, and then we will win. no matter who.
Yep. I would say number one, progressive policies when put to direct democracy, like it's not petitions. What is it? It's when it's put on the ballot that people can actually vote on. I wish we had it in my state. Like we don't even
ballot initiatives.
Ballot initiatives, exactly.
Yeah.
When progressive ballot initiatives come up, when polls, when even in like the primary, when you had people going and they were doing the entrance polls and the exit polls and all that kind of stuff, progressive policies win. They win, and people want progressive policies. Medicare for all. They're decriminalizing marijuana, decriminalizing all drugs in Oregon. Not, and I want to clarify because I think people think that it's like legalized all. No, decriminalized all drugs and marijuana and things like that. These are sensible, progressive policies that will actually put people in a much better position in life. Right? And people
which makes society
that
better.
When you put it to direct democracy, what do? We put a politician in the middle of it. They put a politician in the middle of it. So instead of voting directly on this thing, you have to vote for somebody who may or may not fight for this thing that you want. And you know what I mean? So here's the thing. So number two, I think is what we really need to be doing is we need to be recruiting and we need to be getting people on the ballot and putting them out there and making sure that we spread their message. And I know it's not like politician glorification or anything like that. It's not, putting them, but it is kind of putting them on the pedestal. But you find people who are actually going to advocate for these things.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not suggesting that we don't care about who's in office.
Oh, no.
I'm saying that, who is in office is less important than what you are willing to do with that person in office, whoever it happens to be.
Yeah.
So yes, if someone is advocating for the things and has a history of advocating for the things, they didn't just wake up to climate Jesus on Tuesday after spending a lifetime in the fossil fuel industry. If there's a history of them saying X, Y, Z, and they go on the ballot saying they still care for X, Y, Z, then that's someone, if I agree with their policies, that I can vote for. Someone that I could stand next to and, shout at the top of my lungs with. But as soon as if they do that on a Monday, I need to hear them do it again on a Tuesday, because if they don't, suddenly instead of yelling with them, I'm going to be yelling at them. There are no heroes in politics. There's just those who will do what we need them to do and those who are on their way out.
It's really interesting that we talk about, the way that we kind of conceive politicians, right? And don't really, it's like we excuse them for a lot of things that we wouldn't excuse, our friends for. We would sit down and have a conversation with our friends if they betrayed the values that you thought, you know what I mean? Or like this kind of relationship that you would have a conversation about that and you would have a reconciliation about that, that kind of thing. But at the same time, we just kind of excuse, it's almost like we make it into a soap opera.
Yeah. But at the same time,
does this because, they were under this pressure and they were da-da-da and all this kind of stuff. And it's like,
yeah, but if your friend betrays values that we thought that they had, how many people suffered? How many people died? How many people did this affect? If someone in Congress betrays, whatever, there's a lot of suffering at the other end of that decision. So I'm not going to be treating my congressman the same way I'm treating my friend. Just the same way that a government, the same way that a government is not like a household. I don't want to hear budgetary analogies of a government like a household. If you do, you're never going to see another good night's sleep ever, because I will haunt your fucking dreams. It's just that the ramifications of you getting something wrong in the House of Representatives, in the Senate, or in the presidency is disaster. It is literally life and death. So I cannot treat you with kid gloves. I can like you. I like my personal representative, Andy Kim. He's a nice guy. I'm not looking for a nice guy. I'm looking for a fucking warrior. And if he's spending 3 years studying the healthcare issue that we have and not coming to any conclusions, because he's coming at it with humility. He doesn't want to make assumptions. He wants to talk to people. 3 years studying it. And every question he's ever had and concern about Medicare for all has been addressed. It's in the fucking bill. He still won't sign off on it. I don't give a shit If he is vegan and doesn't hurt animals or anything like that, he could be a nice guy. He could be Jesus fucking Christ. I don't care. Sign the goddamn bill. Sign on to it. You can work on your pet project solution for healthcare in your own fucking time. Because you haven't moved an inch.
It's kind of interesting too, because I mean, speaking of analogies, I mean, let's talk about Joe Biden talking about like he was talking about, he needs to, what was it, they asked him about marijuana, and he says, well, we're still doing these studies to see if it's actually harmful, and blah, 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 and all this stuff. It's just the most ridiculous thing. Like, dude, there's so much research out there. Like, it's
I want to
so
smack the stupid off his face. Jesus Christ.
And yet, no, you're still studying. Because you don't want to give a solid answer.
Well,
like, I don't know if that was the situation with Kim, but that was definitely the situation with Joe Biden. Like,
it's pretty much the situation with him. You know, he wants to find a solution from another country that he can implement here. I don't give a shit, you know, what other countries do. I care what we can do. We are in a position because of our resource capacity and our monetary system. Even though many other countries share our monetary system, they don't share our resource capacity. We can do something far better than has ever been done, you know, and we should be fighting to do that because people are suffering. The consequences of not is suffering and death, you know, and we have something proposed right now that can be exactly that. And you want to study something else. And his biggest fear, you know, is that it would give the Secretary for Health and Human Services too much power. He says, well, you know, if you gave this to the person who currently holds, you know, under Trump, would you be comfortable with that? I'm not comfortable with that. To which I say, fucking improve the conditions of people's lives. Trump will never be elected. And it says in the bill that the Secretary for Health and Human Services is answerable to Congress at multiple points in the process. So you are basically telling me that you don't want to be a better, stronger congressman and representative for me. You are saying that you are going to be too lazy to stand up to someone, so you want to come up with a solution that takes you out of the equation. Well, I got a perfect solution for taking you out of the equation, Andy Kim. Get the fuck out. Put someone else in who is willing to stand up to these people in a way that turns their bowels to fucking water.
I mean, can we just establish really quickly that when we talk about the government, it's not supposed to be some like entity. Yeah. That is like, oh, the government does this, blah, blah, blah. No, the government is us. That's the point. That is this great experiment of democracy, of representative democracy, blah, blah, blah. This is what it is supposed to be, is that they are supposed to be representatives of the people, not a separate thing. It's not supposed to be some evil thing or whatever. And if you think it is, then we need to work on that, right? You know what I mean? Like, then fix that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Not like just, I feel like it feeds into a lot of what's happening too. It's like, and I get it.
And if it needs to be fixed, stop putting it up to the people that put it to wrong to put it to right.
But yes, fix it.
But that means you fix it. That means you fix it. Absolutely. Don't wait for your elected representatives to fix it. Don't wait for the people who broke it to fix it. You know, you fix it.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to do it. There's no incentive for them to do it whatsoever. They like the way things are right now.
But yay, we just made Nancy Pelosi the Speaker of the House. For what? 15? Is it 15? No, I think it's 18. I think it's 18 years that she's been the Speaker of the House. We're like, shit sucks. It's getting mad worse. Let's put the same people in charge.
Absolutely. You know. I really got to go. I'm sorry.
Yes, you do. You do. Yeah. All right, let me close it out real quick.
All right.
Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here, Geoff. This has been awesome, like it always is.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Thank you to the audience for letting us yap our asses.
Wait a minute. No, it's definitely gone. Oh, shit. I'll have to get it back.
I've been working on that for years. I got some static. All right. Thank you for watching me Up and Up with Real Progressives, Real Progress in Action. Please look us up on YouTube and, of course, Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. We're everywhere. Look us up, please. And if you have the means, please support us on Patreon / Real Progressives.